Hello everyone, this is Narendra from Civil Department. I am going to explain about reconstruction development methods after disaster will be happens. So which is comes under Unit 5 syllabus in the DPPM subject disaster preparedness and planning management subject. So in this scenario, I am going to explain about the introduction part about the reconstruction and development process. So which is a best or which is the main aim to restore infrastructure and revive the economics and also build resilient communities while the ensuring long-term sustainability. A well-planned approach is necessary to reduce the further disaster risk and enhance the livelihood between the people and also promote the environmental protection. And below is a detailed overview of the methods of reconstruction and development across the different sectors. So the main principles of effective reconstruction and development process is the build back better, that is triple B we are calling. So which is a main principle for the rebuilding stronger, and while the disaster will be occurs, the building will be very strong in safe and also safer and more sustainable than the before. So here the build back better means the rebuilding of the nature or rebuilding of the environment, and it's safer and more sustainable than the before. Resilient infrastructure, that is also necessary. So we know very well about the resilient process, which is the recovery of the infrastructure using the disaster resistant materials and designs. And community participation is also involving locals in decision making and implementation process. The sustainable and eco-friendly approaches will be also using green technologies and nature-based solutions. So by using of the green technologies like green building constructions and nature-based solutions, for example, providing of the solar energy instead of electrical energy. So integrated development planning also a type of principle for the effective reconstruction and development process, which will be know about the combining reconstruction with the long-term social and economic goals. Then coming to the methods of the post-disaster reconstruction. So we know very well about the post-disaster. Disaster means the disaster will be happening or occurs. The post-disaster reconstruction process is development of the infrastructure or reconstruction of infrastructure and economic and social development and environment rehabilitation and climate adaptation and community based and inclusive development process. These four methods we can implement for the reconstruction after the disaster will be happens. Coming to the first one, infrastructure reconstruction, how it will be happen. The rebuilding critical infrastructure is the foundation of recovery process. So, for example, if you can take the earthquake resistant buildings, so before occurrence of the earthquakes, we should be strengthened the earthquake prone areas for the construction of a resistance buildings by the earthquake. Use of the flexible materials like bamboos, steel reinforcement concrete, and strengthening of the buildings by use of the RCC. RCC means reinforced cement concrete. So and also implementation of the shock absorbing foundations. So whenever the earthquake will be happens, the base isolators it will be strengthened by the happening of shock in the foundations and adopt the traditional resilient designs also. Example, Nepalese pagoda structures. So in the Nepal country, they may be adapting the traditional and resilient designs for the strengthening of the buildings. So by this way, the earthquake resistance buildings also we can withstand for the overcoming of the earthquakes in further or in future in scenario. And also we can implement the flood resistant housing process, elevating of the homes whenever the floods will be occurs. The elevated homes will be protect the people who are living in the highly raised buildings like stilts or platforms in flood prone areas. We should be elevated. By that way, also, we can sustain or we can protect some of the property and also lives. Use the waterproof materials and drainage system will be properly. So waterproof material also it will be some of the it will be protect for the absorbing of the water into the buildings. So that is also protect the people or protect the property. And developing of the floating houses. So in Bangladesh they may be providing the flood resilient homes. Floating houses also may be constructing, so those will be also it will be protect the from the floods whenever it will be occurs. And also cyclone and hurricane resistant structures use the aerodynamic designs to reduce the wind resistance. Secure roofs with storm proof fastenings and build the community cyclone shelters, so those will be protect from the cyclones and hurricanes whenever it will be happens. The smart and resilient transportation process. Repair and upgrade roads and bridges with flood resistant material. So smart and resilient transportation means we should be repair and upgrade the road construction and bridges and improve the public transportation to reduce the congestion and facilitation evacuation process. Use the modular bridges for the quick rebuilding. Example, we can take the Bailey bridges in Nepal country. So these will be protected from the cyclone. And also infrastructure reconstruction. One more is energy and water system. That will be also rebuild or reconstruct the deployment of the solar microgrids for the decentralization energy supply. Implementation of rainwater harvesting in drought prone areas. This is very much essential because drought prone areas maybe suffer with heavy with the lack of water, because we should be implement the rainwater harvesting by the constructing of the dams or reservoirs or water bounds constructions, and upgrade the wastewater treatment plants to prevent the contamination process. Wherever the wastewater is generating, we should be treat and reuse for the recycling process. Coming to the economic and social development, how it will be by the construction, post-construction, post-disaster process. A strong economy ensures long-term recovery and stability. So job creation through the reconstruction process. So for the employing local workers in rebuilding efforts, and train the communities in green construction technologies and support the small business and cooperatives, so that will be also more effective for the reconstruction of economic and social development. And coming to the sustainable agriculture and food security, that is also very much necessary, because we should be promote the drought resistant crops, introduce the agroforestry like combining of the crops and trees for the land restoration. So combination of the crops and trees very much essential. So crops will be give the food items, and also trees will be cause the coming of the rainfalls or rains. So establishment of the urban farming for the food security, that is also growth, the economic and social development. And one more is disaster resilient tourism. So restore the eco-tourism sites with the sustainable practices like training of the local guides for the climate friendly tourisms, develop the safe evacuation plans for the tourism areas, and microfinance and community grants, so that will be provide low interest loans for the small businesses. It will be more encouragement for the development of the economic and social development for the people, and support the women led enterprises, support the women empowerments. So women led, so that will be also a many encouragement for the development of the economic and social. And promote the cooperative saving groups like Dokra Mahila, and some of the groups will be available in the country. Those will be strengthened by the economic resilience process. And the third one is the environmental rehabilitation and climate adaptation, how it will be rebuilt. The disaster recovery should focus on restoring ecosystems and rebuilding climate risk. So, reforestation and watershed management is the most accurate or most strengthenable reconstruction process in the environment rehabilitation. That is, plant the trees to stabilize the slopes and prevent the landslides, and restore mangroves and coastal forests for the storm protection, and sustainable land use planning also, implementation of the zoning laws to prevent the construction in high rise areas. So high rise areas, it will be causes more landslides for the low lying areas. Promote the vertical cities to reduce the urban sprawl, integrate the green spaces in city planning. So greenery providing, it will be more helpful for the giving of the accurate or fresh air for the people who are living in the urban cities. And one more is eco-friendly waste management, which is recycling construction debris into the new infrastructure, introduce of the biodegradable packaging in relief operations, development of the community-based recycling programs, and climate-related, climate resilient water management, that is construction of a floodplain restoration projects, use of the desalination plants in drought affected coastal areas, and develop the smart irrigation systems for the farmers. And fourth one, community based inclusive development process. So it will be participatory urban planning. It involves residents in designing their neighborhoods, use the digital tools for the community mapping of risk, indigenous knowledge and traditional methods, that will be also more comfortable for the reconstruction development of the community based inclusive development. So integrate earthquake resistant traditional designs. Example Nepal and Japanese, because Nepal Japanese frequently occurring of the earthquakes. Those will be providing the integrate earthquake resistant traditional designs. Use of the natural cooling methods instead of energy intensive air conditions. So that is also a type of and gender responsive development. It will be ensures equal access to reconstruction jobs for the women, and support the women led cooperative in agricultural and business also. So balancing or equal education and awareness also, it will be conduct disaster preparedness training and implementation of the climate change education in schools, and strengthening of the early warning systems using local networks, that will be more helpful for the reconstruction of the development. So one of the case studies of the successful reconstruction in Japan after 2011. So frequently occurrence of the earthquakes and tsunamis in that country. So rebuild cities with elevated housing and tsunami walls. So it will be expanded renewable energy projects, reducing dependency on nuclear power plant. So restored coastal forests as natural barriers. And Nepal country, one more. Nepal country 2015 earthquake recovery process. It will be used earthquake resistant brick lime mortar in new buildings, and trained local communities in seismic construction technology, and developed heritage tourism to revive the economy also. One more is Bangladesh flood resistant development, because many cyclones will be occurred in Bangladesh. So those will be built floating schools and hospitals, introduce salt resistant crops for coastal farmers, established community based disaster response teams. And what are the challenges in the reconstruction development? We know very well about the reconstruction is most complicated and crucial part for the regaining or and, changing of the environment is most crucial. So the number of challenges are funding constraints, maybe high cost for the resilient infrastructure, when compared to previous, the infrastructure cost will be increases. And second one is political bureaucratic delays. Slow decision making hinders recovery. A lack of technical expertise, need for the training in sustainable construction, and social inadequate inequality equality, that will be also a challenge. Recovery of effort may exclude marginalized marginalized groups. And lastly, climate uncertainty, unpredictable weather patterns affect the rebuilding plans. So this is the last conclusion, a hospital approach to reconstruction. So it will be repairs damages, it should be transform communities into safer, more sustainable and resilient spaces. By integrating resilient infrastructure, economic revival, environmental sustainability and community participation, we can reduce further risk and promote long-term development process. So this is the scenario about the reconstruction and development of the environment while the disaster, post disaster will be there. So thank you very much for your better understanding about the reconstruction and development of the environment. So thank you. If you have any doubts, you can ask in the chat box, or else you can ask in the classroom itself. Thank you. Thank you very much.